From total ban to policy reversal, a post-mortem on advertising restrictions.
Good afternoon. It's nice to be back to this very quiet and cozy place. We will try and entertain you with a conversation that, for a change, deals with advertising restrictions across Europe, across all regulated markets, not just Europe. And to do that, I have invited a panel that I will briefly introduce you to, starting from my right-hand side, Ala Serebrenskaya from Asensi Abogados in Spain. Ala is a partner at that firm, as well as an extremely qualified lawyer when it comes to Spanish laws, gaming laws and regulations. In the middle, we have Fabio Buffalini, who is the country manager of Stake, which I suppose many of you have already heard of. And then we have Dario from Betson. He is the Deputy General Counsel at Betson. And the interesting thing is that we have Spain, we have Italy, and we have Spain and Italy, because Betson is obviously licensed in both countries as well as in many others. So I will not make it too long. I would just like to say that the reason why we have such a good share of Italians in this panel is also because the advertising restrictions originate from Italy, which was the first regulated market in Europe to drastically regulate advertising, actually more than regulate, ban advertising, gambling advertising in any way, shape or form. That was in 2018. Lots of things have happened in the meantime, but the interesting observation to be made is that Italy set the parameters that other countries eventually adopted to introduce advertising restrictions. So in this little conversation that we will have today, which will be quite short, we will try and give you an update on where matters stand in Italy at 6 years from the implementation of this ban, where matters stand in Spain, which eventually followed suit, and what is the equilibrium that operators like Betson have been able to find in navigating these very choppy waters. So that's my introduction. I would now turn to Ala to ask her, in a matter of a few minutes, to tell us where we stand in Spain. We heard a lot about the ruling of the Supreme Court. Maybe you can tell us more about what is the situation as we speak today.
Okay. Thank you very much, Quirino, and hello, everyone. So in Spain, as you said, Quirino, in 2024, after being for 4 years under almost a total ban, the Supreme Court voided partially the regulation that we had on gambling advertising that was approved in 2020. The Supreme Court stated that some of the provisions were not proportional, that imposing general restriction as such on advertising goes against the enterprise freedom, and also that the regulation itself have lack of appropriate legal rank. The industry suddenly can advertise a little bit at least, can give visibility, can offer welcome bonuses that were prohibited, and all that is together with the Royal Decree on Responsible Gambling that was approved in 2023. So more or less we can say that after the almost ban to this partial reversal, which is a victory for the sector, together with the Royal Decree on Responsible Gambling, we can talk about proportionality, balance. The situation, However, this is not the post-mortem era in Spain yet because, unfortunately, first, there are still severe and extreme restrictions that are in place. And second, which is even most important, is that our regulator is doing whatever is possible to, in whatever way, reintroduce the almost ban and to reintroduce again the prohibitions. It's trying to do it through the general law on public health. It's trying to do it through the general law on customer service with the excuse to protect society and to protect players when it has been shown with the experience and with these years that the ban failed in the core objective of player protection. I'm going to finish, but just I want to say that we are in a situation where illegal operators are mocking the system. Last week, we have an illegal operator named itself as Casino DGOJ advertised on social media with reviews 5 stars and with comments like, finally we have a casino which is supported by the government. Finally we have a casino where we can gamble tranquilos and safe, and so that's the situation. There is the legal operators, the legal market is suffocated by restrictions. Illegal operators are operating, are taking players, and even advertising themselves.
Okay, quick follow-up question. What is the sentiment of the public opinion, if any, in connection with these restrictions? Do they support them? Do they just don't care? They are in favor, they're against it?
The public opinion?
The media, the
media?
Mainstream media, etc.
No, of course no. There is of course no. There needs to be a change. The proportionality is not there, and the solution and the player protection and the society protection is allowing advertising, regulating advertising, and the proportionality is the key. And of course, we need a change there. But of course, there is still a social alarm, and there is a need for education, which is still not there. Society needs to understand that advertising is not a privilege for licensed operators, right? It's a must, it's a need.
It's a right.
Exactly, it's a right, and it's also, we have an absurd situation because a survey shows that 50% of population doesn't know how to distinguish a licensed operator from a non-licensed operator. And players are going to continue gambling, so we need advertising, we need regulation, we need rules to protect players, to show how to gamble in a safe environment. We need a competitive, healthy, and secure market.
Thank you, Ala. Now, Fabio, switching to Italy. After 6 years, 8 years almost, 7 years, 7 years to be precise. After 7 years, is the situation any better, any worse, or just the same as it was prior to the advertising ban?
As you said, I mean, many years are done till now, and we have seen that the restriction with the advertising ban that has been done 7 years ago, 8 years ago, basically, I can say quite clearly that has been a failure, because I mean, the gambling, the illegal gambling in Italy has grown a lot in these years. So basically, the action by the Dignity Decree didn't get the scope that was making for. So basically, now with the new tender that we, as you know, now the market is the Italian market is one of the biggest in Europe with a 5 billion euro market, and now the ADM, the regulator, has done the new tender that we applied for that. So the actual licensee operator will have to continue in the market only if they can invest 7 million euro. And the difference is between 7 million euro and 200,000 euro 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago. So basically, the market will change a lot in the next years, especially for the fact that only probably the big operator will continue to be in the market. But coming back also to your main question is the action, the advertising ban, what has been done, restriction on advertising, has to change the way on how to make it. Let me explain better. Probably, as I said time ago, the reason of this strict restriction has been also fault of the operators, because before that, and I was there before with other operators, as you know, everybody was running to the highest bonus, not to the highest acquisition offer, but without control the offer to the consumer. So we need what I think probably is something that all the operators in Italy, but probably also in other countries, let me say in Spain, need to work together with the regulator, let me say regulator, and also the communication authorities to rewrite the rules for the advertising ban, or at least rewrite what can be done and what cannot be done, in order to leave the opportunity to the companies like we are. I mean, we are entering the market that is very mature, is very complicated, but from scratch. So we need to build a brand. So can we say that is fair to enter in the market like it is right now? Not so much, let me say, because for a new brand, it's not easy to establish in the market and so on. So coming to the point, I think we should work all together, looking to rewrite the rules in order to give to all the operators, to all the market, the same opportunity to advertise in a right way. Let me just add the last point. I mean, with the new decree, you know that responsible gaming advertising has been allowed for a while, for a part of that with our brand. So that's a first step that we consider very, very important. Of course, it's the first step. Then, of course, we will need to see the next things altogether to rewrite the rules, as I said.
Yeah, just to comment on what you're saying, it appears that there has been a progressive but tangible relaxation in terms of not of the advertising ban as the rule, but how the advertising ban is enforced. So there is some flexibility. This has become evident over the past few years, for instance, by allowing operators like Betson to launch services, ancillary services to the gambling, real money gambling offer, which is the only target, that we should not forget. The only very target of advertising ban is real money gambling offer. You can advertise anything else, including odds comparison, scores, live scores, news, footage about sporting events, etc. And this is what has happened in Italy, and I would say by now it's not happening only in Italy anymore, for the operators like Betson to launch ancillary services and advertise those services. Now, switching to Dario, Betson is an international, very well-known and successful operator that is active in both Spain and Italy. The first question that comes naturally is, where do you find it more challenging to navigate the advertising ban, in Spain or in Italy?
But to be honest, let's say if we want to compare Spain to Italy, Italy, as you correctly said, after the issuance of the guidelines from Agicom, it has become, let's say, quite clear which kind of, let's say, ways we add, like as operators, in order, let's say, to keep advertising non-related, let's say, gambling products. So, in any case, we have seen an increase of like infotainment platforms, payment, let's say, solutions that, in any case, operators have developed in order, let's say, to keep advertising totally different segregated products. In Spain, obviously, like the judgment from the Supreme Court only came in May 2024. So, in a way, is quite recent. We are speaking about 1 year ago. But what I would like to point out is that it's important also to see real numbers to understand the risks associated, let's say, to these blanket bans that that regulators are introducing. For example, it's interesting to notice, speaking about Spain, that the 2024 report issued by the DGOJ recently, in the recent months, on the online gambling sector in Spain, showed, let's say, an increase in GGR, active players, and also deposits for the year. So the year where this judgment from the Supreme Court was issued, and most notably, there was, let's say, an average growth of 35% when it comes to new gaming accounts. And this is important because this indicator had seen a decrease for 3 consecutive years during the let's call it prohibition period. Speaking about, for example, other markets, I want also just a brief note on Italy, because of course, after the issuance of the enactment of the Dignity Decree, guidelines from Agicom were issued, but also already in 2022, 4 years after the enactment of the Dignity Decree, the parliamentary, let's say, commission of inquiry already, let's say, produced a final report showing an increase of illegal gambling also among minors. And I want also to mention statements from the Italian regulator, from ADM of last year, where in any case it was said that the business around illegal gambling in Italy was around 20 billions, and the regulator had already blocked over 10,000 illegal sites. So this is goes without saying that even with a total ban in place, the illegal gambling, let's say, saw an increase, and also, let's say, we didn't see any benefit when it comes, let's say, to consumer protection. Now, for example, speaking about real data, Lithuania is another example where a total ban on promotions were introduced in July 2021. There was a study carried out by H2 Gambling Capital that showed that at that time, in 2021, the percentage of illegal gambling was at around, let's say, the 50% of total consumption. In 2024, after 3 years from the enactment of this ban on promotions, another study carried out by Spinter Research showed that illegal gambling increased to at least 25% of total consumption, and 69% of the customers that were interviewed admitted to use illegal platforms to have access to the promotion that were prohibited by this ban that was introduced in 2021. Actually, these promotions were specifically mentioned by these customers, the primary reason for choosing illegal platforms. So let's say this is what I really want to stress, that regulators, when authorities, when introducing, let's say, measures, let's say, aimed at protecting players, they always need to have in mind the ultimate objective and choose, let's say, measures that can really, let's say, help the industry to achieve that objective.
And the numbers that you have dropped are really thoughtful. They really mean that there is a direct connection between more restrictions and more illegal gambling. What I wonder is why the industry as a whole hasn't yet pooled some money to organize a Europe-wide or worldwide information campaign in which they should just disseminate these hard numbers that you have mentioned. Because this would be something for the regulators who are still to take the restricted route to think about prior to making the same mistakes that other regulators have made. Anyway, I see that we only have less than 2 minutes left. I will take, if there is any questions from the floor, I will take a question from the floor. Otherwise, I have a final short question for my panelists. Are there any questions from the floor? Okay, so my final question to the three of you, and you have approximately 40 seconds to answer that question, is suppose that we circle back here in 1 year time. do you expect to be telling the audience the very same story, or you have at least reason to believe, if not hopes, just hopes, that you might be sharing some breaking news, some interesting news about the advertising ban?
I want to stay positive, and I want to not only critical. I want to think that in 1 year time we are not going to have a ban on advertising. There is going to be possibilities for legal operators, and hopefully we need. I totally agree. This huge industry needs to invest in education, in lobbying, strong measures in this sense, because there is a lack. And I think regulators will understand that they cannot confuse prohibition with protection, or protection with prohibition.
Fabio, what do you...
As I said also before, I mean, we need to work all the operators together with the authorities to make again the rules all together and work for the same scope, protect the players. And so let's try to open a discussion all together to revise these rules together for the better of the final players. That has to be the scope of the industry for me.
Same for me, and obviously, like, I need also to admit that some steps have been already taken. Like, speaking about Italy, for example, if we want to look back to, to last year, 2024, when in any case the legislative decree 41 of 2024 was enacted, some steps have been taken by the government in order, let's say, to allow operators to advertise again their gambling brands in connection with responsible gambling campaigns. So we can already see that, like, something is moving towards the right direction. Obviously, like, as an industry, we have worked a lot in order, let's say, to push for such changes, let's say, to take place. Obviously, like, there is still more to be done. Like, if I want to speak about, let's say, Spain, because some of the restrictions, let's say, mentioned at the beginning, are still in place because the Supreme Court, let's say, didn't cancel all of them. And in Italy, now there is, let's say, this kind of contradiction. In a way, the dignity decree is still in place. On the other hand, now we have the decree on the reorganization of games that allows operators to advertise in connection with responsible gambling messages. So some probably like new standards needs to be in any case issued in order to give clarity to what is nowadays permissible and what still falls under the dignity decree restrictions.
So that's it. The bottom line, or the headline, is some wishful thinking for Spain and some hopes for Italy. With that, I wish you a good continuation of the show here in Malta, and thank you very much for your attention. And thank you, my panelists here.